This is Mongolian Mindset, and today me and Christian are going to be breaking down the four subtypes from Dario Nardi's brain imaging. So this is basically what happens. Dario Nardi has been collecting data from his first book, I think from 2011. This is when the Neuroscience of Personality was actually released. So it's before that. But basically he slaps the EEG on your scalp and he measures the electric activity based off activities that he asks you to do, and certain types light up certain areas better than others in certain areas. Okay. um, so we actually love this Dario's work. And if we get 30 fucking likes on this video, me and Christian will break down the neuroscience. So we'll give you guys a run through of the neuroscience um, based down on all of this, so you can be just as informed as us. If we get 30 likes, and we'll break that down in hemispheres of the brain because it's so many of them at one time. Chris, you got anything you want to say before we get into this?
Yeah, before we start this, I just want to say watch this video once, twice,
You said
three times so that you can get the base of what we're talking about. So if we move on to the hemisphere, you're not lost in the sauce. You know exactly what we're talking about. Watch this three times, and we want 30 likes so that we can put in the work to detail these hemispheres because it's a lot of work. Okay,
it's a
guys?
lot of
A lot of
work.
work.
Yeah, but if you guys don't know, me and Christian are actually scientists in real life, so
Mhm.
that's why this shit's not hard for us. All right, Christian, you fucking ready?
I'm
So
ready. Let's
this
go.
is the reason why we said we can break down each of the hemispheres of the brain because there's so fucking many of them. Okay. And as Dario has like progressively gotten better with his EEGs, he's went from one that was looking at 16 areas of the brain to 32. I think he's up to 64 now. So it just continues to get better and better, guys. Um, and he's really taken off with his brain imaging. I think by most likely next year, Dario will have over 2,000 brain scans. So there's hope for you guys out there. Okay. And I'll ask him where he's setting up like his sites and whatnot, because he's getting more people into doing it that are, I guess, like kind of chain. I guess how you would say it, Christian. It's like somebody's like
Mhm.
like he trains them, but they work for him in the way. I don't know how that works. Maybe he get commission, or I don't know what the fuck he does with that. But so they're able to pump out even more of these, and there will be even more in the future. Okay, so give us 30 likes, and we'll break this shit down for you guys. 30 fucking likes. So I'm gonna get into like the inspiration that Dario got it from. So he's been doing brain scans since 2006, taking hundreds of people through protocols. And so from that, he's found subtypes, right? The better word is variation. He likes that, or variant, better than
Mhm.
subtypes, but people tend to like subtypes better. So a variant is like, okay, you know your home base type, right? But then you are a variant of that type, right? So
So it's a type within a type.
yeah, yeah,
Essentially, it works alongside your type, essentially.
yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Um, so you have Dr. Victor Galenko. He's a socionics guy. Model G is what he's created. And he came up with basically a method or system to link Myers-Briggs and socionics together. And he uses his 64 subtypes because they wasn't correlating together. Um, you got people who follow socionics. I call them Russians, whatever. But in that system, he created the dominant, uh, normalizing, creative, and harmonizing. And Dario Nardi, with permission, got permission to use that for his subtypes. Um, because Dario kind of seen the same thing in the brain scans, but it's not exactly the same, but it was good enough for him to use it. And they've also noticed from Dr. Helen Fisher, she uses neurotransmitters, and she not in Myers-Briggs, but she found that four personality types based on behaviors and hormones. So like testosterone will be attributed to the dominant subtype. So like if you, um, for instance, like me, like dude, I'm huge. Okay. It's obviously that I have more testosterone than a normal fucking person. Or I wouldn't have the muscles that I fucking have. Okay. So it's like a no-brainer type shit. Um, then you have the dopamine, that's creative. Then the serotonin, which is the normalizing, and then you have the estrogen, which is for the harmonizing. Okay, and they match his subtypes and what he's been seeing in his brain imaging. And then you have Dr. Richard Nesbitt, which focuses on differences, cultural differences and add works of Dr. Zuhan Ku in China. So these people in China, all differently related, but kind of seeing somewhat similar things. Okay, and Dario just pulled it all in together. Okay, Chris, you got anything you want to say, man?
Yeah, I guess what I can say is that I like the fact that this ties in actual, practical physical data that we can kind of take a look at. And it also acknowledges the fact that our hormones affect how we behave. Because at the end of the day, even if, let's say, you can associate a type to a person, hormones are still a thing. And, cultural differences and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
behaviors change according to those hormones and cultural differences. So
Yeah,
I
so
like that.
it's very, very important. Like the hormones do change the brain. Okay,
Yeah.
it is
Mhm.
what it is, guys. Okay, so I'll just take this one. Okay, um, it's the dominant variation. So they're gonna be more assertive, confident. Wait, let me explain this first. Okay, so when I look at this, is what I'm looking at when I look at the four subtypes, right? So you have to imagine yourself in 100 people of your type, right? And it's like, where do you think you would fit best? Okay. So when you're looking at that, you're not looking at, okay, Mercer's and ENTJ. ENTJs are naturally dominant. I'm dominant. You have to see yourself inside of other ENTJs, right?
Mhm.
So for
Mhm.
Christian, he's an ISTP. So he will compare himself to other ISTPs. So if you're an ENTP, naturally you're gonna feel like you're creative. But if I stick you in 100 ENTPs, you're not fucking Kanye West. Okay. So
Right.
most likely
Right.
you're not gonna be part of the creative subtype. Okay. The subtypes are a
That's
little
what
bit.
That's why I said, in the previous slide, I said it's almost like a type within a type. That's why they call it. That's why people like the term subtype because it's like you have your type, then you have this variation or subtype
Mhm,
working alongside or underneath it.
mhm.
That's why Mercer's saying, just picture yourself in a room with 100 people of your same type, and then let's say we were to split it into 4 camps. This would be those camps,
Yes.
right? So
Yes.
don't compare yourself to a different type. It's just people of the same type. They
Mhm.
have these 4 subtypes or 4 groups that you can further divide into based on hormones and brain activity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like what I was saying, the ENTPs are naturally going to be more creative, right? They're the most creative people. So they're gonna naturally feel like, oh, I should be in the creative, but it's like amongst other ENTPs. Like if you're an INFP, you naturally feel like you're harmonizing. But where are you ranking amongst other INFPs? That's what you got to look at. So I felt that was important to say. So when you're looking at the dominant, it's more assertive, confident, driven, and goal focused. Bam, 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 bam. So they're gonna have the more of in charge mentality underneath their interaction styles a little bit. You might see a little bit more in charge style, um, relatively more testosterone. Um, that's what they've seen based off Helen Fisher's work as well. Act more as leaders, territorial, aggressive, thriving competition, are okay with confrontation and like to win. Can be dogmatic, come off as calculating or pushy. Okay. It is what it is. Brain wiring focus on the front brain wiring, often the analytical side. So the analytical side is going to be the left brain. The holistic side is going to be the right brain. The back of the brain is going to be the contemplative brain part. Um,
Mhm.
so generally support good language-based reasoning such as deduction, linear planning, concept categories, and or metaphors. Okay. These people are naturally going to be drawn to individuals with the harmonizing style. Okay. I think it's more of the yin yang, because you got so much test, you're probably not going to want to be with somebody with enough test because then it's like boo, 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 boo. But like an estrogen type of that. That's why I when I look at compatibility amongst type, you also got to bring this in, right? Because naturally on a piece of paper, somebody might say these people aren't compatible, but he might be a dominant of his type and she might be an harmonizing of her type. See,
Right.
that's why I think, a lot of people fucking up and they try to jump to, being able to use compatibility, and you motherfuckers
Yeah.
aren't there and you won't be there for a long time. Okay.
Yeah, I think we've always been critical of compatibility theory. Like when you take it into the real world, it kind of falls apart, honestly.
Clowns.
And Mercer and I know this because we go out a lot. We see people, interact in that setting, and it doesn't work out like it would work out in paper based on like types and stuff like that a lot of the time. And I think part of the reason is stuff like this, like hormonal differences, cultural differences, etc. So
Yeah, I mean, I will say this. I think there's a lot of nerds online, right? There's a lot of nerds online that can hypothesize shit that ain't fucking true. Sounds
mhm.
good, but it's not fucking true. Okay. And that's why you guys come to us, because you're going to get the real truth and nothing but the truth. So help us, God. Uh, okay, so utilizes people for normalizing style and inspired and confused by creative style. So I can be inspired by, creative people, but then they're often confusing because they do shit that I'm just like scratching my head. But it is what it is, guys.
Mhm.
All right, Christian.
Oh, before we continue, I just want to add to this. There's a trend in modern times of young men going on TRT. I wonder, this is a hypothesis. I have no data on it,
Hmm.
but I guarantee you there's going to be a lot more dominant types on average in the future, just because of these guys who are just taking TRT early, or they get on steroids or whatever. Maybe it's a bias for me because I follow the fitness industry a little bit,
I think it's wrong.
but
I think it's wrong, Christian. I think it's wrong because if you look at the overall trajectory of men, it's actually going down. If you look at
yeah, but they're hopping on exogenous hormones, bro. They're
yeah,
adding hormones to their body.
I know that they're doing that, but
They're upping their testosterone artificially.
like what Kyle said the last night, I was fucking dying. He said, "People 21, they're all gay." I said, "What?" And I mean, it kind of shows up because you can see even with people trying to get pregnant, it's the sperm count. It's almost at a point to where it's at a level where they recognize it being low. Okay, that's across the board. So you got to look factor that in, plus all the like things in the food and stuff like that. It's actually causing people to be actually more feminine. If you actually go out and see a lot of
Yeah,
guys
I guess
more
you're right.
feminine.
I guess like
You
on
got
average, testosterone is going down. So
you got to
I didn't
when
think
you're
about
looking
that.
at the gym culture, you're
Yeah,
picking
I'm
up
looking at.
a certain subculture of things, and that's not everybody. Oh damn,
Yeah, it's a niche. It's a niche. Okay. Yeah, good point. Good point. But I do wonder, the people who do get on exogenous hormones,
yeah,
how it affects this. Like the people who do get on that stuff, do they start to become more of a dominant subtype
yeah,
as opposed to before? Naturally, they're probably a different subtype. So
yeah,
that would be good to test. Anyways,
yeah.
let's go on to the next one, the creative subtype. Okay. So they're more curious, exploratory, open minded, and sociable. So they're less dogmatic than the dominant. They have relatively more dopamine, according to Helen Fisher. They're more travelers, risk takers, need a lot of stimulation, are reward and pleasure seeking, interested in novelty and change, like many different topics, um, may come off as disruptive or rebellious. Now, according to the brain wiring, you see a starburst pattern, like you see in the picture. Most of the regions fire in the brain simultaneously, and they tend to have a right hemisphere bias. Often have just enough executive coordination and conventional or analytical skills to get by. Often find themselves in conflict or repelled by individuals with normalizing style, can fit in with the harmonizing style,
Yeah.
but can feel inhibited. They benefit from a dominant style, but dislike being pushed or controlled. Now, originally, I thought that I was this subtype. Now, there's no way to really know unless you actually do the
Mhm.
brain scan, but you could do kind of similar to typology. What's the best fit subtype for you? That way, obviously nobody has access to brain scans in a day to day. Um, but the reason that I thought that I was the creative subtype was because of the risk taking and the stimulating and changing of environments, which I kind of fall into a little bit.
Mhm.
Now, um, I don't know if I'm like so into traveling all the time though.
Yeah.
and you know,
It's
repelled the
personal.
individuals with normalizing style. I also found that kind of similar to how I think. Like I don't like, you know, SJ rules put on me, stuff like that.
Well, you got to
So,
remember when you're looking at this, you're looking at it from peers of your type,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And let me tell you something. ISTPs can be crash fucking junkies, okay? So they could really be creative, snorting
Right.
a line off a woman in fucking Las Vegas, Um,
Yeah.
they can get
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
wild out there. You ain't really that wild, buddy. You ain't really that buck wild. I
Yeah.
mean,
So I guess
good thing about you.
what makes it kind of hard to kind of identify is there's already the original type working,
Mhm.
right? So now you have to go a layer beyond that, which makes it even more specific, which is harder to identify with just looking at it. Now, if you had a brain scan, it will tell you what it is,
Yeah,
but because we don't have access to those instruments day to day, these might be hard to identify.
yeah.
Um,
So
but
that's
you
why,
could do your best, and they're good to know. So,
yeah, that's why I always say you want to imagine 100 of your type around you, right? Like we've typed celebrities. Okay, S- I didn't start with the subtypes and the celebrities at first. So there's some videos where they don't have the subtypes or whatever, but you gotta imagine, okay, if I was a dominant ISTP, who would I be? Michael Jordan.
mhm,
Right?
mhm,
That's the
mhm,
first thing that should be coming to mind, like Michael Jordan. Okay, that's a dominant ISTP, right? You can compare and contrast yourself with it. I like my ENTP model because I found all four of them. Okay, with Andrew Tate being the dominant version, who's very similar to my older brother, right? Then you have the creative type, which is Kanye West, right? Then you have the
mhm,
normalizing type, which is like Myron Gaines, right? Very, analytical, step by step, doesn't really bullshit, don't play around. And then you have the harmonizing type, which I type uh mystery, the best pickup artist. I typed in
mhm,
harmonize.
mhm.
Okay. So it's good to see those four and then you can kind of compare and contrast yourself. But generally speaking, I would just visualize myself amongst 100 of my type.
Yeah, I guess as far as me, I've kind of dialed it down to two possible subtypes. Might be this one, or it might be the next one, which we
Mhm.
can go into
Yeah.
right now. Go ahead.
All right, Christian, you take that one.
All right. So the normalizing pattern. This is more conventional, methodical, prudent, and compartmentalized. Okay. They have relatively more serotonin, according to Helen Fisher. They have a linear style and work in a careful, thorough, detailed way that tends to ensure a particular outcome. So they're step by step thinking. Now, I have a lot of this. I'm very, step by step. But like we said, when you compare yourself to 100 people of your type, ISTPs, we are, movement oriented.
Mhm.
So we're always going to think step by step. But to what degree would that put me in this versus the creative type? That's what you have to kind of weigh. The brain wiring, farm field or grid-like pattern where every brain region is linearly linked one-on-one to adjacent neighboring region. Okay, so like kind of hard to understand, but if you look at the picture, you see that the whole brain is active, right? They're
Mhm.
more left hemisphere analytical, midbrain, and or more back of brain. They find themselves intrigued by or frustrated with creative style. Uh, Now, I thought about this. I'm often intrigued by creative people. So, that might be it right there.
Mhm.
They can feel unappreciated or overworked by dominant style, can benefit from
Christian
harmonizing
plays.
style, but can't keep up constant interpersonal contact and reflection. Okay.
All right.
Now,
So
Martin, what you had to say?
I was gonna say Christian always complains about feeling overworked by me.
Nah, that's not true.
Yeah, you
That's
always
the
fucking
thing.
crying, you fucking bitch.
That, that's not true because the thing about me is that I put the foot down. It's like, no, I'm not. Like I'm working till here and not over that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's why like I don't know if normalizing really fits me. I'm a lot more like confrontational in a way.
yeah.
These are kind of hard to pin down.
I feel
Uh,
it's pretty easy for me, but I've been doing it for a while. So I've
yeah,
been doing it for a
yeah.
while, so it's easier for me to see. But for me, I see the normalizing personality type as the smartest of all of them. Okay. That's just the way I see it because they're able to like utilize uh pretty much all of the brain. Like as in the dominant is very focused on the front and the left. Okay. While
Mhm,
like, this one's able to like kind of use all of it from the front to back. So to me, I naturally think these people are going to be the more intelligent versions. Um, that's just my thoughts. Okay.
mhm.
Okay, and we have the harmonizing. Okay, so they are the more empathetic and integrative, reflective, and sophisticated. These are gonna be the more estrogen and oxytocin focus. Um, have a relational or egalitarian
Egalitarian.
style that attends to body language, force symbols, and emotions and values. So, these are gonna be your HR people. I'm calling my HR people. Okay. The brain wiring is a diamond pattern, links back and front, left, right for sophisticated thinking. The zigzag pattern connects brain patterns in unusual ways, giving an odd or intuitive feel. Can be more right brain, holistic, and back brain contemplative. So you can kind of see this is just a general of how the brain looks in the picture there. Um, Often highly personal roles, go working one-on-one in a personal way, such as a therapist or a close advisor, rely on specialized set of contemplative and helping skills. So, like if you're in a field where you need to be a therapist, um, regardless of the type, your brain may to typically tend to go towards a harmonizing style. Okay.
Mhm.
Just because that's what you're doing all the time. And humans are very adaptive. Okay. So a lot of times your job will pretty much tell you what your subtype is because your brain must adjust to what it does. Humans are very adjusting. People who says like one way or one thing, they're fucking morons because even if there was an ice age, probably kill a lot of humans, but humans would adjust to that ice age. Okay. Um, Easily drawn to or repulsed by dominant styles can fit in but feel suffocated by normalizing style can apply and add nuance and quality to the output of creative styles. Okay.
Mhm.
So this is your harmonizing. Okay. And as always, we have our sources. Dario Nardi, highly recommend you pick up his book here. I think this one itself is a 64. But Dario has included like to do this work over 500 brain scans. Okay. And it started with the neuroscience of personality. And now this is a more advanced version. And I bet in a year or two, we'll have an even more advanced version. Um,
Now, Mirza, I got a question for you. How would you use this practically, right? Like knowing this information, like how would you add this to the knowledge that you have already with typology,
how
like
would
in a day to day?
how would I add this to typology in a day to day? Well,
Yeah,
for
like are you gonna use it? Are you gonna use this for typing sessions and stuff similar in the
I mean, if people ask me, I generally just if they ask me, I'll tell them what my thoughts is because there's not a specific system to this. It's just kind of like what I'm seeing, okay, or what I
Mhm,
see. So, but if someone asks me, then I'll give them my thoughts on what I think they are. But in my type, like in the celebrities, I'll jot down what I think their subset is. I think it's good. I mean, I think depending on certain types, you can come out a lot better. I think if you, for instance, are an ENTP, I feel like you kind of want to be normalizing, right? They have very
mhm,
specific skills that are amazing, but if you're in the creative style, it can be very bad for you. And I see a lot of problems with that. Dominant can be pretty good, but overall, I feel like the normalizing does if you look at Myron Gaines and how he is, he literally is being perfect, using his skills perfectly. Um,
mhm.
so
But
if
do you think that if you are already in a type that's kind of, let's say, excelling in an area,
Mhm.
to further heighten those will reach you to like the next level. Like you said, like the creative Kanye, you know, like it's almost like he was
Yeah.
already gonna be creative, but the creative
Ver-
subtype on top of that just put him on a different,
it
you know.
put him on a different level, but I feel like depending on the type, it may be a crash course. You know, it might
Mhm.
be a crash course for fucking up. Like a lot of times you see the creative subtype fucking junkies, like on
Mhm.
drugs, strung out and shit. It, hey, that's just what I see. Okay. So like to me personally, you gotta dial the shit back depending on your type, you know. Um,
So it's a double-edged sword, is what you're
it could
saying.
be a double edged
Like
sword, 'cause it could be doubling because it basically you're doubling down on something. You know, doubling down sometimes is kind of dangerous. Like if you're a starter
right,
type, right, that's an ENTP, naturally creative, you kind of want to bring in a little bit more of a finishing style to be to bring yourself up to the next level. Yeah, you could double down, but look what Kanye does, bro. Is it fucking up every, makes $2 billion, lose $2 billion. You know?
right. Okay, that's a good point.
While like I see like Myron Gaines, he may not be Kanye West, but he's gonna live the life that is that you kind of want to live if you're that type, right? Because Kanye is not aware that his kids and their kids are going to pay the consequences for his actions, and there will be no peace for him.
Or read the benefits too. Read the benefits too, you know. But I
Yeah,
get your point. I mean, it's good. It's
I
good.
mean that's kind of like saying
It's
P Diddy, like his kids are going to suffer for this, bro. Like that's why you got to be fucking careful. Like you may be like you're off the gun. I mean, a lot of people don't have NI, so they can't see very far. But like for people like me, I could see it. Like, bro, you got to live in that shadow. Whatever your parents did, they did a bad enough shadow that tainted the world. You have to live in that shadow. It is what it is, bro. Not gonna change. But that's on a different subject here. But like I said, uh, certain types you might want to find yourself in certain different camps. Is
mm-hmm.
what it is. I do think when you look at overall, you want to compare yourself to 100 of your type. Okay, like let's say for instance, like you're an INTP, but you feel as though you're very goal focused, goal oriented, and you actually have tangible shit to prove it. Then you're probably a dominant subtype. Like if you take Elon Musk, that's a dominant INTP. You take Bill Gates, that is a dominant INTP, and that's why they get mistyped as ENTJ, but they're just a dominant version of their type. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times you can see some INTPs, they really don't really care about the goals and everything. They just want to have a comfortable life where nobody bothers them. But you see fucking Elon Musk trying to get us to Mars. You can obviously see like it's very, very obvious that this guy's dominant. Okay.
All
So
right.
stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
is pretty easy to see. Anything else you want to say, Chris?
Well, I guess I just got to reiterate, watch this video 3 times so you can get the details on every subtype. Because if we go into the hemispheres, it's going to get crazy. So you're going to want this knowledge before you go to the next level.
Yeah, I think it's breaking out in the brain will be fun. It's gonna be a fun challenge for me and Christian. I told Christian by the time we're done with all of this shit, but we have a PhD in psychology and other stuff.
It'll definitely be interesting. I'm looking forward to actually doing that. Uh,
Hey,
so
Mr.
please
Trouble
get
on me.
so please get the likes up, 30 likes, so we can get the hemispheres up here.
You know what? Don't
And
like the video.
we'll keep providing these videos. We're having fun doing them. So let's keep it going.
And we will talk about like highly suggest you guys join our Discord and a lot of stuff because we talk about a lot of things that we're gonna be doing or doing in the future, and it's a great time to be able to interact with us. And me and Christian do not bite. We will try to answer your questions, and we are looking forward to maybe starting to ask us question things, and me and Christian will get on here maybe weekly or bi-weekly and answer the questions that our community asks us. Christian doesn't
Mhm.
really care as much about MBTI, so he would like you to be more general with your questions, right?
Well, I think it'll be a nice mix. I think if they provide questioning, you could provide more of the MBTI stuff, and then I could just add on general knowledge. And we have a lot of knowledge about different things, career building, relationships, even casual dating, stuff like that, money. So whatever questions you have, just provide them in the Discord, and we could provide the knowledge based on MBTI and not. So
Yeah, yeah,
mhm.
yeah. Well said. Yeah, and me and Christian will be working on other ventures on,
Mhm.
type related breakdown. I think I'm gonna take him on a crash course of Enneagram, and we're gonna do the same thing with Enneagram and break down the Enneagram. By the end of it, Christian is going to be uh a PhD in typology, guys. We're gonna have an ISTP with a PhD in typology.
Hey, you know what? If that happens, I'll welcome it. It is what it is. Mercer took me on this crazy MBTI journey, and it's taken us this far. So, might as well just continue on the journey. It is what it is.
All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. Drop some comments below and let us know. As you guys do know, as we do more typing sessions and more of this, uh, we get better at, figuring out like dominant versus normalizing versus creative versus harmonizing. Okay, so keep requesting those typing sessions, and we are out, guys.